The Whitman family's colonial home in Bethesda, Maryland glowed with warm light against the December snow. Inside, the dining room hummed with the comfortable chaos of Christmas dinner, the clink of silverware against china, bursts of laughter, and the rich aroma of roasted turkey mingling with cinnamon and pine. Gabriel Whitman, 28 and the quietest of the three siblings, sat between his younger sister Emma and his cousin Jake, nursing a glass of Pinot Noir. He preferred observing to participating, finding comfort in the familiar rhythms of family gatherings. His mother, Helen, bustled between kitchen and dining room, her cheeks flushed from wine and warmth. His father, Robert, carved the turkey with surgical precision, occasionally joining the conversation with his dry wit. Uncle Jonas sat across the table, already 3 sheets to the wind. The family drunk, they called him behind closed doors, though tonight he seemed particularly unsteady, his usually jovial face shadowed with something darker. "Remember when Gabriel tried to build that tree house?" Emma laughed, nudging her brother. "Dad had to rescue him from 12 feet up." "I was fine," Gabriel protested mildly, a small smile playing at his lips. "You were terrified," Robert chuckled, setting down the carving knife, "crying for your mother like you were 5 instead of 15. The table erupted in good-natured ribbing. Gabriel took it in stride, as always, but Uncle Jonas wasn't laughing. He stared at Gabriel with bloodshot eyes, swaying slightly in his chair. "Always the odd one out," Jonas muttered, loud enough for only a few to hear. "What was that, Jonas?" Aunt Patricia touched her husband's arm, a warning in her voice. Jonas shrugged her off, standing abruptly. His chair scraped against the hardwood floor. The conversations gradually died as everyone turned to look at him. "I said," Jonas's voice was thick with alcohol and something else. "Regret. Anger. He's always been the odd one out. Haven't you, Gabriel?" "Jonas." Robert's voice carried a sharp edge. "Sit down." "Why?" Jonas laughed bitterly. "So, we can keep pretending. Keep playing this perfect family charade." He pointed an unsteady finger at Gabriel. "You want to know why you never quite fit." Boy, the air in the room seemed to crystallize. Helen's face had gone pale, her hands frozen mid-reach for the green beans. "Jonas, please," she whispered. "You're not your father's son." The words hung in the air like a physical presence. Emma's fork clattered to her plate. "Someone, maybe Grandma Whitman," gasped. The silence that followed was absolute, pressing against Gabriel's eardrums until he could hear his own heart beat. Gabriel felt disconnected from his body, as if watching the scene from above. His mother's face crumpled. His father, the man he'd called Dad for 28 years, stood frozen, the color draining from his face. "Jonas, you son of a..." Robert started forward, but Helen grabbed his arm. "Not here," she said, her voice barely audible. "Please, not like this." Jonas collapsed back into his chair, the fight leaving him as quickly as it had come. "I'm sorry," he mumbled. "I'm so sorry, but they deserve to know." He deserved to know. Gabriel found his voice, though it sounded strange to his own ears. "Is it true?" The question was directed at his mother, but she couldn't meet his eyes. That was answer enough, I think, Gabriel said, standing slowly. "I need some air." He walked out of the dining room with measured steps, grabbed his coat from the hall closet, and stepped into the Maryland winter. Behind him, the house erupted in voices, angry, pleading, accusatory. But Gabriel kept walking, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air, his entire world tilting on its axis. The snow crunched under his feet as he made his way to his car. He sat in the driver's seat, without starting the engine, staring at the house he'd grown up in. Every Christmas memory, every family photo, every moment of belonging, all of it felt like a lie now. His phone buzzed. "Emma, where are you? Please come back. We need to talk." Gabriel turned off his phone and drove away, leaving the perfect Christmas dinner and his shattered illusions behind. Chapter 2. Unearthing the past. Gabriel didn't sleep that night. He sat in his Arlington apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying Uncle Jonas's words on an endless loop. By dawn, he'd made a decision. If his family wouldn't give him the truth, he'd find it himself. He called in sick to his job at the consulting firm and drove back to Bethesda. The house was quiet. His parents' cars were gone. Perfect. He still had his key. The attic had always been off limits when he was young. Just old junk, his mother would say, steering him away. Now, Gabriel climbed the narrow stairs with purpose. Dust motes danced in the weak winter sunlight filtering through the single window. Boxes lined the walls, labeled in his mother's neat handwriting. Christmas decorations, baby clothes, tax records. Gabriel started with the unlabeled ones. The third box yielded results. Beneath layers of yellowed newspapers, he found a small collection of letters bound with a faded ribbon. His hands trembled as he untied them. The first was dated March 15, 1995, 8 months before his birth. Dear Helen, I know you've made your choice, and I respect it. Robert is a good man. He'll give you and the baby the stability I can't. But I need you to know that I love you both. If the child is mine, as we both suspect, please, just let me know they're okay. That's all I ask. Forever yours, Daniel. Gabriel's chest tightened. He read through the rest. 6 letters total, chronicling a man's anguish over losing the woman he loved and potentially his child. The final letter was different, dated December 20th, 1996. Helen, thank you for the photo. He's beautiful. Those eyes ... I see myself in them. I'm leaving for Seattle next week. The job I told you about came through. I won't contact you again. You've made it clear that Robert is his father in every way that matters. I just pray that someday, if he needs to know the truth, you'll tell him about me. Tell him I loved him from afar. All my love, Daniel Morrison. Gabriel sat back on his heels, the letter trembling in his hands. Daniel Morrison, he had a name. I wondered when you'd come looking. Gabriel spun around. His mother stood at the top of the attic stairs, her face etched with exhaustion and sorrow. Mom, the word felt strange in his mouth now. Helen moved into the attic, her steps careful. I'm sorry you found out this way. Jonas had no right, but he was right. Gabriel held up the letters. Wasn't he? Helen's shoulders sagged. Yes, all these years, every Father's Day, every baseball game, every college graduation. You all knew, and no one told me. Your father, Robert, he wanted to tell you when you turned 18. But I was terrified. You'd had such a beautiful relationship. I couldn't bear to risk it. So, you chose to lie instead. I chose to protect my family. Helen's voice cracked. Daniel was. He was wonderful, but he was also reckless. An artist, a dreamer. He would have loved you, Gabriel, but he couldn't have given you the life Robert did. Gabriel stood, still clutching the letters. What happened between you? Helen sank onto a dusty trunk. We met at a gallery opening. I was engaged to Robert, but Daniel ... He was magnetic, passionate, everything Robert wasn't. We had an affair. Brief, intense, foolish. She wiped at her eyes. When I realized I was pregnant, I didn't know who the father was, but when you were born, those green eyes. Daniel had the same eyes. Did Robert know? He suspected? When you were 2, we did a test, private, quiet. When it confirmed what we all knew, Robert made a choice. He said you were his son in every way that mattered, that biology was just science, but love was what made a family. Gabriel felt tears burning his eyes. And Daniel, he moved to Seattle, like the letter said, started a successful design firm. He never married, never had other children. He sent a card every year on your birthday. No return address. Just a simple thinking of you today. Is he still alive? Helen nodded. Last I heard. But Gabriel, please, I need to meet him. Gabriel, I need to know who I am. Mom, all of it. Not just the parts you decided I could handle. Helen stood, crossing to him. She touched his face gently. You're my son. You're Robert's son. You're Emma and James's brother. That's who you are. But, she sighed, I understand. His company is Morrison Design Group in Seattle. That's all I know. Gabriel pulled away. I'll be back, but right now, I need space. Time to process this. As he headed for the stairs, Helen called after him, Gabriel, we love you. That was never a lie. He paused but didn't turn around. I know. But sometimes love isn't enough to justify keeping the truth from someone. He left her standing in the dusty attic, surrounded by the artifacts of a carefully constructed life, and drove home to book a flight to Seattle. Chapter 3. The Reckoning. 2 days later, Gabriel stood outside a converted warehouse in Seattle's Georgetown district. Morrison Design Group was etched in minimalist letters across the glass doors. His palms were sweating despite the Pacific Northwest chill. He'd called ahead, said he was interested in commissioning work. The receptionist had been cheerful, booking him a consultation with Mr. Morrison himself. Now, standing at the threshold, Gabriel almost turned back. The office was all exposed brick and modern furniture, natural light flooding through massive windows. A tall man with silver-streaked hair emerged from a back room. Gabriel's breath caught. It was like looking at himself in 30 years. The same angular jaw, the same green eyes, the same way of carrying himself. Daniel Morrison stopped mid-stride, his professional smile faltering. "Dear God," he whispered. "Hi," Gabriel said simply. "I'm Gabriel." Daniel's hand went to his chest. "I know who you are." His voice was rough with emotion. "Helen called. Warned me you might come, but seeing you ... double quotes." He shook his head. "Please, come to my office." They sat across from each other in leather chairs, the Seattle skyline stretching beyond the windows. Neither spoke for a long moment. "I have so many questions," Gabriel finally said. "Ask them. You deserve answers. Did you love her?" "My mother." Daniel's eyes softened. "With everything I had. But love isn't always enough. She chose stability, family, tradition. I was a struggling artist living in a studio apartment. Robert offered her the life she'd grown up expecting. But you knew I might be yours. The moment Helen told me she was pregnant, I knew, call it intuition, but she'd made her choice, and I respected it. Pushing would have only caused pain, even after you knew for sure." Daniel stood, walking to a shelf. He pulled down a box, withered and worn. "Every birthday, I bought you a gift. Never sent them." "Of course, but it helped me feel connected to you." He opened it, revealing years of unwrapped presents, art supplies, mostly, books, a Mariners jersey when you would have been 12. Gabriel's throat tightened. "Why didn't you fight for me?" "Because Robert Whitman is a good man who loved you like his own blood. Because your mother made the best choice she could. Because sometimes loving someone means letting them have the life that's best for them, even if it doesn't include you." "I grew up feeling like I didn't quite fit," Gabriel said. "Now I know why." Daniel returned to his seat. "Tell me about yourself, please. I've wondered for so long." Gabriel found himself talking about college, his job, his love of hiking, his struggle to connect with Robert's passion for golf and country clubs. Daniel listened intently, occasionally smiling at shared traits. "You're an observer," Daniel noted. "Like me. We watch the world, try to understand it before engaging. My mom, Helen, she says the same thing. She knows you well." Daniel paused. "What do you need from me?" "Gabriel, why are you here?" Gabriel had been asking himself the same question. "I don't know. Maybe just to see you, to know you're real, to understand why I've always felt like I was performing a role instead of living my life." "That's not because of biology," Daniel said gently. "That's because you're an artist trapped in a consultant's life. I see it in how you sit, how you look at the design elements in this room. You're cataloging, analyzing, creating even when you don't realize it." The truth of it hit Gabriel like a physical blow. "I studied business because Dad, Robert, expected it. I never even considered ... It's not too late," Daniel said. "You're young. You have time to choose your own path." They talked for 2 more hours. About art, life, the paths taken and not taken. When Gabriel finally stood to leave, Daniel walked him to the door. "I don't know what comes next," Gabriel said. "Whatever you're comfortable with. I'm here if you want me in your life. If not, I understand. You have a father. I have 2 fathers, apparently," Gabriel said with a wry smile. "Still figuring out what that means?" Daniel pulled a business card from his pocket, writing something on the back. "My personal cell. No pressure. But if you ever want to talk, or grab coffee, or just exist in the same space, call me." Gabriel took the card. On impulse, he hugged the man who'd given him life but never raised him. Daniel stiffened in surprise, then returned the embrace fiercely. "Thank you," he whispered, "for finding me, for giving me this moment." Gabriel left Morrison Design Group feeling lighter and heavier simultaneously. He had answers now, but they only led to more questions. As his Uber wound through Seattle's rain-slicked streets toward the airport, he pulled out his phone and turned it on for the first time in days. Dozens of messages waited, from Emma, from James, from his parents, even one from Uncle Jonas, apologizing profusely, but the one that made him pause was from Robert. "Son, I know you're hurting and confused. I understand if you need space, but please know this. You have been my son from the moment I first held you. Biology doesn't change that. I love you, Dad." Gabriel closed his eyes, feeling the weight of multiple truths. He typed back, "I know. I love you too. Coming home. We need to talk. All of us." Chapter 4. The Truth Sets Free. The Whitman dining room looked different a week after Christmas. The decorations were gone, the festive warmth replaced by winter afternoon light and the weight of unspoken words. Gabriel sat at the same seat he'd occupied that fateful night, but everything had changed. Around the table sat his family: Helen, Robert, Emma, and James. Even Uncle Jonas was there, sober and shamefaced. They'd gathered at Gabriel's request, the first time they'd all been together since Christmas dinner imploded. "I met him," Gabriel said without preamble, "Daniel Morrison. My biological father." Helen's hands tightened around her coffee mug. Robert's face remained carefully neutral, and Emma prompted gently, "And he's a good man, an artist, successful. He loved Mom, and he's loved me from afar my entire life." Gabriel looked at each face in turn. "But he's not my dad." Robert's composure cracked, tears gathering in his eyes. "You," Gabriel continued, looking at Robert, "are my dad. You taught me to ride a bike, stayed up with me when I had nightmares, cheered at every graduation. You chose me, even knowing I wasn't yours by blood. That's everything." "Gabriel." Robert's voice was thick with emotion. "But I'm angry too," Gabriel said, "at all of you, for deciding I couldn't handle the truth, for making me feel like an outsider in my own life without telling me why." "We were wrong," Helen said. "I was wrong. I let my fear override your right to know." "I'm sorry," Jonas interjected, "for how it came out. I was drunk, angry about my own problems. I weaponized your truth, and that was unforgivable." Gabriel nodded. "I appreciate that, Uncle Jonas, but in a way, I'm grateful. The truth needed to come out." "So, what happens now?" James asked. "With Daniel, I don't know yet. Maybe we'll develop a relationship, maybe not, but I'm glad I know he exists. I'm glad I understand where parts of me come from." Gabriel pulled out a sketchbook, new, purchased after his Seattle trip. "I've started drawing again. I hadn't realized how much I missed it." "You were always drawing as a kid," Emma said softly. "Then you just stopped." "I stopped trying to be someone I wasn't," Gabriel said. He looked at Robert. "I'm thinking about going back to school, art school." "I know it's not what you envisioned. What I envisioned," Robert interrupted, "is for you to be happy. If that means art school, then art school it is." "Really?" "Gabriel, I've watched you sleepwalk through life for years, doing what you thought we expected. If this revelation helps you find your authentic self, then it's a blessing, however painful the delivery." Helen reached across the table, taking Gabriel's hand. "We can't undo the past, but we can be honest moving forward. No more secrets." "No more secrets," Gabriel agreed. He pulled out a letter, one he'd written on the plane home from Seattle. "I wrote this for all of you. It says everything I couldn't figure out how to say out loud." He slid it to the center of the table. "Read it when I'm gone. I'm going to take a walk." As he stood, Robert stood too. They faced each other, 28 years of complicated love between them. "You'll always be my son," Robert said firmly. "Blood or no blood. That's not negotiable." Gabriel hugged him then, really hugged him, for the first time since he was a teenager, to cool for displays of affection. "I know, Dad, I know." He made his rounds, hugging his mother, his siblings, even Jonas. Then he grabbed his coat and stepped out into the winter afternoon. The neighborhood was quiet, snow muffling the usual suburban sounds. Gabriel walked the streets he'd grown up on, seeing them with new eyes. He wasn't the biological son of Robert Whitman, successful lawyer and pillar of the community, but he was still Gabriel Whitman, shaped by this family's love, struggles, and even their secrets. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Thinking of you today. D." Gabriel smiled, typing back, "Thank you for everything." He kept walking, feeling the weight of two fathers' love, a mother's fierce protection, and siblings who'd always have his back. The truth had shattered their careful fiction, but from the pieces, something stronger was emerging. That night, Gabriel would return home to find his family still around the table, his letter tear-stained and passed between them. They would talk until dawn, sharing truths long buried, rebuilding their bonds with honesty as the foundation. Uncle Jonas would get help for his drinking. Helen would start therapy to deal with decades of guilt. Robert would surprise everyone by suggesting they invite Daniel to Easter dinner. "If he's part of Gabriel, he's part of our family," and Gabriel would enroll in art school for the spring semester, finally pursuing the passion he'd buried in favor of others' expectations. The Christmas dinner revelation had torn their world apart, but sometimes things need to break before they can be rebuilt correctly. Gabriel had lost the comfortable lie of his origins, but found something more valuable: the freedom to be himself, fully and authentically, loved not despite the truth, but because of it. As he stood in his childhood bedroom that night, looking at old family photos with new understanding, Gabriel realized the most profound truth. Family isn't just about blood or secrets or perfect presentations. It's about choosing each other, again and again, especially when the truth makes it hard. He'd spent years feeling like he didn't quite fit. Now he understood. He fit perfectly into this messy, complicated, fiercely loving family. He always had. It just took the truth to help him see it.